Ladies and gentlemen. Right. Good evening all. Attendees. Darren Philby, David Mackey, Graham Smith, Steve Ridley, and Graham Hooper. Graham, just promoting you to panelist. Hey Graham, and we have a great webinar tonight with Super Hooper, Graham Hooper, Managing Director of TCP, as I affectionately call them, the ointment for all ADI cures. That's the Tri Coaching Partnership. Tonight we are going to be talking about the...
Okay. I'm just going to share this, David, and then...
Okay. You might have to turn your volume down on your phone there, Graham. So what we're going to be talking tonight is about the driving test, the changes and how that is going to affect the ADI. So please, you're very welcome to ask your questions. We're going to do the questions at the end though, and the reason why we're going to do the questions at the end is Graham is being a good old soldier. He ain't feeling too great, but he's still going to do the webinar tonight. And we'll get through as many questions as we can at the end until he drops off, pretty much.
Well, I might have gone already. Yeah, no, you're working.
Right. Oh, so you've shared that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've shared it. It's on my page as well now. So,
hey, that's great.
I mean, the whole world can share it.
Hey. Share. So before we start,
the world can share it. The more people see it.
Before we start, a few shout-outs. First of all, to AD&D, because they are paying for this webinar technology. And the reason why they're paying for this technology, thanks Tina, thanks Cal, is because this webinar is brought to you by the Driving Instructors Business Summit. And all our proceeds, all trade stands, you will see Graham there, all trade stands, all ticket sales, all go to a wonderful, wonderful charity called Speed of Sight, which if you've not heard of them yet, hang your head in shame. If you've not heard of them yet, ask me about it later.
Yeah. Well, if I see you, David, I've definitely heard of them.
Yeah. They're technically a blind driving school, and they help people have that wonderful experience of driving. So whether they're blind, with Down syndromes, CF, whatever. In fact, we've had some Paralympians on there recently, blind and driving around. So we raise money for Speed of Sight through the Driving Instructors Business Summit, which is in January. So we'd love to see you there. It's a fantastic summit, and it's fantastic not because I'm saying it. It's fantastic because of the content that you're receiving. I promise you a really, really good day. You'll love it.
There'll be some good people there as well.
Yeah, there's some top names. We've got some world-class names, actually. Anyway. Right, Graham, thank you for being here tonight. Let's just start by briefly recapping the changes to the driving test. What's changing, mate?
Okay, well, let me just firstly say thank you to everyone who's listening. Thank you for taking the time out on a Sunday evening. Brilliant. But, okay, so let's have a look at just a brief, I'm not going to go into detail, but what's happened? The independent driving time has doubled.
Yeah.
But 1 in 5 tests will still be following road signs. Some of the manoeuvres have changed, but you're only going to do one of these. It's either going to be the parallel park, pull into a bay, reverse out, or reverse into a bay and pull out. And the other one, which some people are having a meltdown about, is pull up on the right, reverse 2 car lengths. But, you know, that's it. Yeah, that's quite easy. And then we've got the show me question on the move. And that could be asked on independent drive. And nothing. And in terms of that, test still lasts 40 minutes. That's it. I don't think anything else is, I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think that is it. You know, there's not a lot there, really.
I think it'd be a lot more interesting if they took the minors down to 10 and they extended the driving test to an hour.
that's, you know, we know this isn't going to happen. And I'm very much, we can have this wish list, retesting people, doing this, doing that. It's only a wish list. We've got to go with what the DVSA want. And I suppose my view, and I do kick a little bit every now and again against authority, but I'm signed up to be an ADI. I'm a DVSA approved driving instructor, which means that I deliver basically what they've set out in the national standards. I didn't write them. I've read them. They seem pretty good to me. Can't disagree with them. But overall, that's what we're asked to do. And if we don't like it, then what are we doing here? Because they hold our registration. I don't really sort of get the problem too much, because we're not masters of our own destiny with the driving test and being with the DVSA.
Never have been.
Now, what they could do is deregulate the whole lot, yeah, and let us get on with it. And then you can have everybody teaching people to drive, which you've got now, Uncle Tom Cobley and all. Could end up a bit like Uber, I suppose. But the difference would be your auntie can teach someone to drive and charge. Do we want that? That's the question. If not, then we have to be regulated. And that's what we've got. We're regulated. We're on a register.
You came in before you became a driving instructor, Graham. It was regulated, and it's regulated now.
Yep.
And if you don't like the regulations, I suppose there's a few choices. One, leave. B, you teach more. You don't just have to teach the driving test. Go beyond.
Well, that is what's in the standards. Go beyond. And the thing is, look, when do they look at you? You can do whatever you like. Once every 4 years. I mean, I'm not advocating, smash all the rules, but you can do. No one's watching you. Big Brother is not watching you. You don't have secret shoppers. There's nobody out there telling you really what to do. And we're kicking against what I think actually a lot of ADIs there, and I'm noticing this more, are actually embracing the changes, because ADIs understand this is about road safety, and they understand that, let's have a look. Why the changes? Okay. Road collisions are the biggest killer of young people in this country. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? And generally affect people aged between 15 and 19. And then people might go, well, 15 and 16-year-olds don't drive. Yeah, but they get in the car with their mates.
Yeah, they do.
And most fatal collisions, as we know, happen on rural roads. Look, it's simple, really. We crash in urban areas. But when we crash in urban areas, we actually don't usually, I'm going to go usually, get injured. We dent metal, because we've got engineering that protects us. We've got side impact protection systems. We've got airbags and other stuff that just help save our lives. We've got a seatbelt on. It's cool. And generally speaking, because there is exceptions, they're low speed impacts. Yeah. We don't die from low speed impacts. Yeah, we might get hurt a little bit, but we just get injured. And I know that's not pleasant. Where the problem is that human beings cannot withstand an impact speed of 40 miles an hour plus. You cannot. You can try this, David.
There's a few people I like to try it against.
you can try it. Well, don't try it. But I mean, you can go and stand on the roof of your house and dive off into the car park, and I reckon the impact speed would only be about 26 miles an hour. Then you can decide how much that hurted. Yeah, that's a good English word, hurted.
Hurted.
Yeah. And, so that's it, really. So rural roads, this is where, it's not speed that kills, it's impact speed. Yeah. And so if you look at this, where the DVSA are being clever, I think they are forcing driving instructors to change the way that they train. At the moment, and I only got anecdotal evidence, but for example, Winchmore Hill Test Centre, closed down and moved over to Waltham Cross. When you drove around Winchmore Hill, there would be learner car after learner car after learner car after learner car after learner car. Yeah. Now you go there, you get a smattering. Just, yeah. You go over to Waltham Cross, learner car after learner car after learner car after learner car. And people go, we don't do test routes. Well, someone's blooming there doing test routes. I don't know who they are, yeah, but there's thousands of them doing test routes. Now, by extending the test routes, you're getting them people away from the driving test area and out onto those faster flowing roads. And of course, that forces us to train people on faster flowing roads. And this really is where I see the DVSA have made the changes. It's to force us to change our training. Now, I know there'll be ADIs out there probably screaming, going, I do this. Well, of course you do. I've been doing it for 22 years, teaching on rural roads. But you're going to teach more on rural roads.
For me, Graham, the people watching this tonight will be with you.
I'm preaching to the converted.
And there are a lot of fantastic ADIs out there that, you know, want to share this information. For me, I don't think this is controversial, but I think a massive problem within our industry, and it crops up now with, you know, the DVSA wanting to make changes, is the recruitment process of bringing ADIs into the industry.
That start me off.
If you want to be an ADI, what are you doing it for? You need to make money, you know, and you can have a great way of life being an ADI, and you can make some damn decent dollar doing it as well. But that ain't the bottom line, is it? Your bottom line, you've got to be an ADI because of your heart, you know. Then you combine that, and you met them. They become ADIs because they just want a job, and they may be unemployable elsewhere, and they ain't interested. And what they want to do is they want to get all their clients doing a 8:15 test in Nottingham because they know it's a left turn over Trent Bridge, because if you go right, there's too much traffic. So therefore, it's not only just a test route, but they know exactly what test route they're going to do. And so that's the problem for me. It's recruitment.
Okay, so I know, look, this was unscripted, but I'm just sitting here in my office, and I'm going to do a little plug, actually, because that says Try Coaching Instructors Training.
Mate, you're welcome to do a plug, by the way, because
but also,
you have paid to come to the summit.
Yeah, national standards. Yeah, if you train to be, you know, if you become a trainer with Try Coaching, you will be working around the national standards. Yeah, and this book becomes your training manual, which is not all about the national standards, and just to then your PDI gets a course. Yeah. And
here's your
point that I want to make, David.
Hold on. Here's your book about national standards.
Around
national standards, but it's not about national standards.
What isn't?
No, you just said, here's your book about national driving standards, but it's not about the standards.
Well, no, well, it is about the standards. What I mean by that is, you know, it's the whole course is not about the standards, but the standards underpin all the training that is given to the PDIs. And that's what we should be doing, so that when our PDIs come into the industry, the standards are embedded in them. Yeah,
you mould them straight away.
They haven't got to take, you know, CPD about it. They know all about it. So I'm a great advocate of the DVSA national standards, because two things. What makes a great lesson? Teach to the standards check. What makes a great trainer? It's all those skills that you need to help to teach to become a driving instructor, which, I mean, if you can sum it up in rapport, feedback, questioning, listening, intuition, those coaching and client-centered learning skills.
Graham, just a quick question.
Yeah,
can you hear and see me okay? Because I can hear and see you okay, but someone's just said...
can't understand what is being said.
Yeah, Claire Hamilton. Claire, I can hear Graham, he can hear me, and this is beaming through the States, so, and I can see it on my phone, so it might be your connection, but you'll have to rerun anyway, and if anybody does get a bit of lag at your end, there will be a rerun. So I've got a question here that's been fired in, and And it relates to what we're talking about right now. Why do you think the DVSA have made these changes?
Why do you? Well, it's exactly what we're talking about. It's about. I mean, it's about road safety. And I know there'll be those pulling up on the right and reversing in and out of the bays and about road safety, but they're just about the basic skills of control, accuracy, and observation. Yeah, which have always been there. Okay, and you need those basic skills. You know, being able to manoeuvre a vehicle safely is part of the driving, but being able to move it slowly and safely is part of driving. And we need to do that because, you know, I parked in a car park the other day, I come out, there's a nice scratch on my car.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Yeah, who wants that? Yeah. It's probably...
They probably didn't even know they scratched it.
Yeah, they don't even know. Yeah. So I've got... something coming up. Mikey TV crashed. I
don't know what that is, but I like the fact they're trying to make it more real life. And I have a marketing tip for ADIs. It's about real life, and it's so you have your pupil, and I would love to see this on the driving test. I know it's pretty much you could make it possible, but it's not going to happen. Your pupil and they are test standard. They're not at the test yet. They're with you, right? Yeah. Get a couple of people in the back of the car. I call it the distraction driving, where you've got the weight, they're talking, the visibility is a little bit lesser. And from a marketing sort of exercise, what you can do is, these people haven't passed their driving test yet, and they've got a nice introduction to you. But I love how the DVSA are actually trying to make this more real life. But for me, wouldn't it be great if you could actually take a driving test with two people in the back of the car? Because that really does represent...
I tell you what, you think about it, okay, there's nothing... That can happen. Right, you've got your learner taking the test, you've got the examiner examining the learner taking the test, you've got an examiner in the back examining the examiner, and then you've got the accompanying ADI going with them.
How many times on a lesson have you had anybody in the back?
Well, you should do. I mean, why aren't people doing lessons 2 to 1, 3 to 1? Why aren't they doing it? Yeah, you don't have to do every lesson that way, but why aren't they doing it?
Fear of piggybacking.
Yeah, but that's piggybacking. That's a load of crap. It's not piggybacking. It's
Graham might know that, but it's the fear of the reputation. Hey, look, Gavin Browning makes a point, and I want to mention this because I said to Gavin the other day, it's all right, you speaking afterwards. Speak on the day. And Gavin, you have done. Take my hat off to you, mate. He says, modernising driver training reform of the regulatory framework for approved driving instructors was shelved when Rosa took over. Anything to say on that, Graham? Or was it?
Well, the only thing I've got to say on it, unfortunately, is that VOSA merge screwed up a lot of things. But you can't blame the DSA for the VOSA merger. It wasn't their idea, was it?
Governmental thing, wasn't it? Budgetary.
So this is government. This happens. Vote for somebody else, get it changed. That's the way it works. Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with Gavin. Look, you see, everything in this world is not perfect, and everything, and my mum, and there's no higher authority, said to me, son, life ain't fair. And unfortunately, life ain't fair. We get dealt a set of cards, and that's it. We can only get on with it. The more that we whinge about it and do nothing, we've got our hand. Let's get on with it. Let us, driving instructors, help people drive safely and think about, and this is what this is about. We should be teaching with the mindset of post-test. We should not be thinking about, I'm teaching you to pass a driving test. We should be teaching you about your skills for life and skills for living in a post-test environment. What are you going to do when you pass your driving test? Oh, I'm going to go to university. Where are you going to go to university? Oh, so, right, let's have a look at driving related to what you would be doing in that university. Where are you going to work? Oh, I'm going to work at so-and-so. Okay, let's have a look at the journeys around there. What will you be doing with there? Okay, well, I might be driving a van. Okay, well, then let's look at reversing to the right. Oh, is that pulling over and pulling over on the right and reversing around the corner, which has been in the driving test as long as I remember. Of course. So let's think about how people drive in a post-test environment, and because learning is contextual. If you can put context into the learning, as in context for that person and understanding, that person is going to learn more and be motivated to learn. That's what we should be doing. If we are solely teaching to this driving test, we're doing people a disservice. We're not teaching them to drive. We're teaching them to pass a test.
Graham, I completely agree with you. You know the best books out there, you know the page turners?
Yeah.
The best books, the page turners, are the ones that you personally connect to. And you remember that book, you know? And anything in life. If it's personal to you, it could be the most boring of subjects to anybody else out there. But if it's personal to you, boom, you're on it. So I understand what you're saying, talking about post-test. You know, where do you go to work? How are you going to be driving there? Under what circumstances? What time of day are you going to be driving? What sort of pressures are you going to be under? I get that. It means a lot to me because I really do see that from a learning point of view. Because I've learned stuff, and it's only time afterwards when I realised, oh, that's why it's apparent to me. And learning took place not when the skill was being shared with me, but took 6 months later when the penny finally dropped.
Exactly. And, you know, coming back to the changes, independent driving time doubled. The show me question could be asked on the move, on the independent drive. Why? Distractions.
Yeah.
We crash because we get distracted. We should be out there in our training, and I know ADIs are doing this. We should be out there doing training with distractions in, doing scenario drives. Yeah.
Graham, I used to listen to the cricket when I was ready. My driving instructor, we both enjoyed cricket. I think we were playing the Ashes or something like that. Radio 4 on, right, we're having the cricket on because you're going to listen to it and you're going to drive.
You're going to do what you're going to do, yeah?
And he was listening as well because I had to listen to it. It wasn't just music where you just bob along. I really wanted to listen that, I don't know, somebody bowled it six inches outside the off stump and it was cut away for 4 or something like that. And it was a distraction driving. And I didn't realise until in later life, you know, once I started working with ADIs, what my driving instructor was actually trying to do.
Yeah, you had a really good driving instructor. And that's the thing, you know, and this is what I think we forget. There's 40,000 driving instructors out there. I meet really fantastic driving instructors. I'm lucky because, generally speaking, the driving instructors that come to me on our courses are really, really engaged, really, really interested in their own continuing professional development for themselves and also for the people that they're training. And
that's what makes a good drive. For me, that's what makes a good driving instructor. It's not the skill level that you're at the moment. It's the fact that you're engaged and that you're interested and you're on that line of improving. That to me makes a good anybody.
Well, when I sat down here before we started tonight, I was thinking, God, I hope everyone don't think I know it all, because I'll tell you what, I certainly don't. But I do generally know where to find the information, and I think that's key. Well,
look, I've got a question that's come in here that's got nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. I can understand why the question's been asked, but it's pertinent because you just said you know where to find it. Yeah. Michael Hollingbury. Evening, Michael. How you doing? I'm not spoken for a long time.
Hey.
Is Michael in Buckinghamshire, if I remember rightly?
No. He's up near Hertfordshire way.
Mate, it's next door.
With Michael because he's a martial arts expert.
He is, you're right. And Michael says, is there any news when we could do motorway driving? I don't have that news yet, Michael. But
I don't have news yet either. I'll tell you what, they are so bogged down with the changes to the driving test,
Brexit,
changes to the Part 3, Part 2, Brexit. Nothing's happening, yeah? I mean, I don't want to do politics, and I'm not going to go inside, we get in or out. Brexit is a total cock-up. From what I can see, and it's killing everything that we're doing because it's time consuming and not thought out, unfortunately. And that's whether you want it in or out, you know, it's like we're stuck, and it ain't going to get sorted quickly, and it's stopping important stuff to us. People are still going into your Q&A, Dave, by the way. I can see 4 questions.
Yeah, look, let me just whiz through here. I mean, if you can go in the chat box rather than the Q&A, I appreciate it. I've got 3 other things. I'll whiz through these pretty quickly. Anonymous attendee. First of all, anonymous attendee, I would just like to say you attend all of these webinars and you fire in loads of questions, so thanks for being here. Hi, David. Just caught the end of you talking about a lesser driving test and a lawsuit. Yeah, let me just clarify that. It was me saying that I received an email. Somebody was saying that the new driving test would be harder for people with disabilities. And my reply to that was, look, if my son was involved in an accident and I found out it was done by somebody that had the license to have a lesser driving test, where do I file the lawsuit? There's nothing out there. It was just me doing speculation, that was all. I'm just trying to say that it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what circumstances you've got. The bottom line is raising the standards of driver safety. And, you know, this is David not beating up disabled people. Just check out the charity work that I do. Anyway, hi, Graham. You said that you've read the DVSA standards. Where's this written? I think it was the back of the Cocoa Pops.
If anyone wants the standards, and anything that I talk about, if you email me, Graham Hooper, ADI@hotmail.com, I will send you the standards, stuff about the GDE, links to that sort of stuff. Maybe I'll put a little email together. If you give me your email addresses.
Well, if you're watching this on Facebook, please just contact Graham through there. But Graham Hooper ADI, it's GRAHAM Hooper HOOPER, and I've spelled ADI wrong on here. The dick.
Indigo.
Yeah, look at me. I'm trying to do 4 things at once. At hotmail.com. Another question, Michael Hollenbury, again, it's away from what we're talking about, but I will answer it. Michael's asking, is there any research completed on how much driving instructors earn throughout the country? Michael, I've got nothing definitive in terms of quantitative research for you, but from a qualitative point of view, in terms of the instructors that I talk to up and down the country, I would say it's roughly about £25 an hour. I do have instructors working with me at 50. There's quite a number of driver instructors going over the £30 an hour limit, but there are big areas in the country that are charging 21, 22. So I'll take ballparks 25. Graham?
I think that's fair enough. Funny, I was having this conversation. I was charging £25 an hour 12 years ago to learners.
Anyway.
And it ain't budged.
Let's get back onto this.
Yes.
Possible risk factors. What are they, Graham? I mean, I'm talking from a pupil's point of view and an ADI's point of view. Health and safety in the workplace.
Okay. Risk factors. I mean, we're already telling, you know, they're going to be going on faster roads. There's distraction. Yeah. They're new learners. It's us not overloading them and jumping on it too quick. Like with anything, you have to build slowly. You put the pieces in, bit by bit by bit, and then you start to put it all together. Yes, I mean, look, some people go, well, I'll throw the kitchen sink at me. And I say, well, let's do this little experiment, We'll go to the swimming pool with 100 people who can't swim, and we'll take them down the end, which is 14 foot deep, and we'll chuck 100 of them in, and some of them will be able to swim. Problem, will they all be able to swim?
What happened to the ones that don't? What have you done to them?
Well, you just leave them there, you know, it's just life is tough, isn't it? And so we've got to be careful with that on our driving lessons, that we don't throw people into the deep end too much and work on the sink or swim. We build up to it. Some will respond to that, but others won't. You know, so, you know, it's about being client-centred. It's about coaching. It's a big change for us. I suppose other things...
the risk factor, the ADI. I mean, an ADI is not... I mean, everything that you've got in your book on how to become an ADI, you've been taught it. You know how to do this. You know how to do a TIR and the rest of that. Yeah. But what about this new stuff? You've not been taught on how to do a sat-nav. All right, so you've got a sat-nav. right? You've not been taught on how to pull over on the right? You do it. But how do you then go and apply that to a learner if you've not been shown how to apply that to a learner and under a difficult circumstance?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's what you're saying. Driving instructors can do this already. They should have been doing this already. They should have been doing it for years. So I don't think actually it's a big change. You should be just carry on doing what you've always done. You know, most of us have probably incorporated Pass Plus into our training because Pass Plus doesn't really happen. And so it should all already be there. So I don't see too many problems unless you're the ADI who pulls around the test centres all the time. Then I see them having a problem. But the good news is that's not us. You know, these are not the people listening to this webinar. The people listening to this webinar are already embraced into driver training and doing things correctly. And they're here because they want to develop themselves. And they need to think about, you know, what's one of the best ways to, and this doesn't work with everyone, but to, on faster flowing roads, help them develop a commentary. Yeah? Help them develop a commentary drive. Start off slowly. Just tell me about road signs and road markings, and then build it up bit by bit. Start putting in more information, bends, telegraph poles, whatever, mud on the road, weather conditions, environment, etc., etc. And then from there, building up to what you can see, what you're going to do about it, how you're going to do it, and putting in the mirror signal manoeuvre routine. Okay.
Can I ask you about risk factors? I mean, do you have a process? I know I'm putting you on the spot here because it's not something that we haven't discussed before, but is there some sort of like a 1, 2, 3 step process that you can dive?
What we do. Risk factors, simple risk factors is simple. If it doesn't look good, yeah, first thing you do is ask them a question. If you don't get a response, next thing you do is tell them what to do. And if you still don't get a response, you've got dual controls on the floor, you sort it out. Okay,
what about managing risk with pulling over on the right? Because that's the biggie at the moment, isn't it? There's a lot of people out there. And
managing risk, I can't see what risk it is. Pull over on the right often. What risk is there pulling over on the right? You're not going to pull over on the right if there's traffic coming towards you, yeah? You know, you're going to choose that moment. It's about being able to make a safe and sensible decision. And that's what we need to do as driving instructors, is help the pupil make a safe and sensible decision. It has to be their decision making, not our decision making. Pull over there, that's not helping them. They've got to think this through.
So the framework then is not the detail. It's not how to execute a certain maneuver. It's the framework that you attach to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have the skills to already do it. You know, they might have a little bit of trouble with judging how far they are away from the curb. Well, you can probably help sort that out maybe with a reference point or something if you need to. But I think most of them will be able to see quite clearly because they're sitting curbside then. If something pulls up behind, then you're not going to reverse back 2 car lengths. You're going to drive off. If something pulls up in front, you're going to get them to open the windows. And if you're the passenger, you're going to do what you would do. If I was a passenger and I'm pulling away from, you know, with cars pulling away from the right-hand side and with a mate, there's a van in front, what do? He reverses back a little bit. I go and have a look and say, looks safe to me, mate. And he'll start to edge out, put a signal on and edge out carefully. You know? We're not talking about pulling over on 60-mile-an-hour roads here. We're talking about, you know, we're talking about pulling over in the urban area.
High street, yeah.
It ain't going to be high street, David. It's unlikely to be the high street. It might be, but it's too busy. You try parking in this country, yeah, in the high street. You'll be driving around for a week, yeah. It's hard, you know.
So I was going to ask you, what sort of impact do you think these changes will have on a student who's learning now and they've been learning for several months, and their test is due in the next period, you know.
Okay. I think we need to think about, there's, you know, it's like a cost-benefit analysis. Impact on the learners, well, it's the time doubled of the independent drive, really. So you got 20 minutes of independent thinking instead of 10. Generally speaking, you know, they wouldn't have been trained for that. So fatigue, yeah, they could get tired doing this, yeah. Thinking, they need to think, you know, following a sat nav, yeah, ain't easy.
No, no.
I mean, I'll tell you what, I'll follow a sat nav and it screws me up. I go all over the country. But it's learning to deal with it when it screws you up. That's what we've got to help them do when we take the wrong one on the left, the wrong one on the right, because we're all going to do it.
And that's a great thing.
Confused. And so what we're doing then is giving them responsibility to sort it out. And so in doing all this, what I see actually, the impact on the learners, their confidence will go sky high because they will be taking responsibility for their own driving rather than having the instructor sitting there always talking to them. We're going to learn.
Yeah, I really see that on the independent driving. And, you know, you talk about the sat nav. We went to La Rochelle on Friday, and I know the road.
Very nice.
Yeah, it is a lovely place. I know the road well. I still put the sat nav on because I just wanted to. And my son's talking in the back. He's being distracted. You know, if you don't know, I've got a 4-year-old son. He's in the back, and he's like this, and my wife's seat on the headrest like that. My wife's turning around. She's telling him off. Of course, I'm driving like this. Guess what I was doing? I was turning around, telling him off. Why? Because I'm a human, and I'm in what I like to call the fast lane. I know you all ADRs are telling me off for that. I was in the overtaking lane. And yeah, it's a dual carriageway only two. And there wasn't that many people on the road. And then I quickly looked at my sat nav, and I could see on my sat nav that the road was coming off. And there was a bend as well. And then I could see the actual turning in front of me. And I slowed down. I did mirror check. I slowed down. And I went, shit, is this my turning? And it wasn't. And what I was doing, I was spending more time looking at the sat nav to look at the curvature of the road, to see if it corresponded with the bleeding turning that I got.
Yeah, and this is
years with the sat nav.
And this is the problem, you know. People are going to get mixed up. And this is part of our journey and the training, because when we look at it, we're teaching people real life. This is really going to happen, and all cars now virtually come with inbuilt sat nav.
And I'll tell you what, because this is Friday afternoon, and we'd already launched the webinar, and I thought at that moment, well, a few seconds after, how do I feel? And I'll tell you how I felt, because I got it right. I didn't need to pull off. I continued, but I felt a bit stressed.
Yep.
Even though if I got the turning wrong, I was going to lose 5 minutes. Yippee-doo, 5 minutes. And I noticed I wasn't driving like this. I was driving like that because my whole body had changed, because I was stressed at the situation of my son, my wife, and me cocking up the directions because I took responsibility following the directions. And I love the fact that, and I was thinking, I love the fact that it's now 20 minutes as independent driving, because it puts them under more pressure that way. And I'm hoping more ADIs will allow more independent driving within their lesson.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, this is in the standards that you should look for your body language. And so coming back to the question, changing training, it's about building stamina and decision making. There was something that I was looking at tonight, and which reminded me before I was doing the webinar. I had a look at a website called crashmap.co.uk.
All right.
Okay. Now, the great thing about crashmap.co.uk is if you put your postcode in, you will get all the crashes in the area, whether they've been fatal, serious, or slight injuries.
Oh.
Now, the great thing about that is for us in planning our training, we could start to plan the roads that these, you know, we know where they crash. We already know where they crash. And I'll tell you what, if I jumped on at Ashford, the A28 at Ashford, and went to Tenterden, there's crashes all the way along there, fatal, serious, and injury crashes.
Yeah.
And you just go to a site called Crash Map, and you'll get where people crash, and you can see where the serious ones happen. And that might help you, as driving instructors, plan and practice routes. Because
hey, look, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what.
Sorry, David.
I'll say, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what. If you've got a website, and you know, it's not always a 17-year-old that buys this. The parents are often involved in the decision-making process, and they go, look, Mum and Dad, I'm interested in joining this driving school. If you've got a page that's dedicated to that, look, here are the accident black spots in our area, and I'm going to teach your son, your son or daughter, why accidents occur in these areas, you know, these hot spots, and overcome it. It's also a great selling technique for your business as well.
Absolutely. Okay. Have you got any other questions coming?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Okay, so there's a few down here. What might you have to adapt the training to cover? What might you?
Okay. Well, yeah, I suppose adapt. I mean, we should already be doing this, but if we look at again, come back to the standards, preparing vehicle and its occupants for a journey, make sure the vehicle is roadworthy. Obvious stuff, but we should be doing this more. Planning a journey, thinking about the road conditions, the weather, the traffic, the experience, the vehicle, the journey time, rest breaks, refueling. These, and if we look at this, I mean, if I go to my phone, I'm just going to go to my phone, Dave, because something I prepared earlier.
Oh, you blew Peter a bit.
Yeah. If I went to units 1.2 of the standards, compare one, they says prepare vehicle and its occupants for a journey.
You are prepared, aren't you?
Sorry?
You are prepared.
It says performance standards, yeah? You must be able to familiarise yourself with the vehicle if it's the first time you have driven it, conduct pre-journey checks and configure the vehicle correctly, make changes to your driving position so that you're safely and comfortably seated, have good all-round visibility, have control of the vehicle, minimise tiredness, check there is enough fuel of the right type, yeah? You must know and understand what pre-journey checks are needed, what adjustments to make. I'm not going to read it all out.
You're talking about preparation.
But it's all here in the standards at Crash Map, M-A-P.
Right, I thought it was MAT actually. So it's crash. Can you crash as in crashing, and map as in
a map of the country?
On plan.
Yeah. Okay. So if you go, look, we've probably all got this. I've picked up this leaflet. You know this leaflet, yeah? This
well, one. I don't.
Driving test changes. Every ADI in the country would have got this leaflet, okay? Every single one. And it just tells you about the driving test changes. But in the back of there, it said, useful to know, units 1.2, 1.3, 2.2, and 4.2, and I know there's a lot of the National Standards for Driving Cars, set out what drivers must know and be able to do to use a sat-nav safely. So,
okay,
it's there. And then, Unit 6.4 of the National Standard for Driver and Rider Training states that you must know how to safely integrate the use of sat-nav into an on-road lesson and the sorts of problems that drivers can have when using them. The standard tells you everything you must be able to do to provide training. And it's all there. And you can find out more. Here we go. Do you want the website down?
Yeah, please, if you can do. I've got a few questions coming in. I was listening to you, but I took my eye off the ball as I was looking at a few.
Okay. www.gov.uk/DVSA/driving-standards.
Thank you. I've had a couple of questions. Danny Gibson.
Hello, Danny. You're
on. Yeah, Danny's always on here. It's lovely to see you again, Danny. Danny says one of his bigger issues, and this is reflected with a few people, is that mum and dad, they're pushing, to do the driving test now. Maybe, I don't know what you think to this, Graham, but maybe one of the things an ADI could do is in the very early stages of learning to drive, have this replicated on your website, is to have a pamphlet that you can give to the pupil, that can be given to the parents and say, this is the difference between now and 20 years ago.
Okay. It's more simple than that.
Okay.
Are the parents paying? Yes.
Yeah.
If they're paying,
in the car.
Haven't you gone and introduced yourself to the parents in the beginning and set your stall out about how your training is going to be? They are buying your service. Yeah. Ask them what they want from you. Give them information, because a lot of that pressure about taking a driving test is born out of ignorance. They don't know the biggest killer of young people is driving. They don't know that. They don't know. But if you start to ask them questions about, do they know any young people who've crashed? Have you got any mates who've crashed? Got any stories? Then it starts to change the parents' perception of what's going on. So, yeah, if you are having grief from the parents, then you should use your coaching skills to go and have a coaching conversation with the parents.
I've just had a post on here.
Rather than bash the parent. Yes.
Mike Simpson from Nottingham. David, tell us how to drive, or tell us how to do our job, or something like that. Mike, look, I ain't an ADI. You know I'm not. A lot of people know that I'm not. But what I do is, I know your industry really well, and I'll chip in with bits that I think are pertinent. I bring experts on, like Graham Hooper, yourself, and other ADIs. But what I do feel is different to our webinars is that I can stand here, just slightly out the side, but I'll never tell you how to do your job. I'll ask you questions. I'll see things from my point of view and a coaching point of view. And what we're doing here is we're getting a blend of things together to hopefully create a really good conversation. We'll take Danny Gibson, for example, and he was just saying about, what do I do with a parent? And you are under pressure right now with this. Well, you feel that you're under pressure. A lot of ADIs feel that they're under pressure with these DVSA changes. And then you throw the parents into the mix and stuff like that. I will help in areas where I feel that I can help in. And then I shut up and leave it to people like Graham Hooper to get on with it. Graham?
I'll tell you what, though, just thinking about, you can always give the parents this booklet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it costs, but hey, if anything costs, build it into the lessons so it doesn't cost you. Yeah, the official DVSA guide to better driving by a colleague of mine, actually, someone I work with from time to time, Dr. Lisa Dawn. Fantastic little book. Yeah, feeling nervous about driving, developing better strategies. New technologies are in there. Alcohol and drugs.
It must be really hard though when you've got the DVSA and you feel this sword of Damocles. You're thinking, you know what? My job's hard as it is. I'm dealing with this, I'm dealing with that, I'm dealing with parents, and then the goalposts are being shifted. In your opinion as an ADI, how do you think we should just deflect that so we can just concentrate with the job in hand and concentrate on driver training? Because you've got these pressures, and pressures are only real when you see them and you actually get in, and you're looking at them. How do you push them to one side?
Okay. I suppose you've got to self-coach, haven't you, and reflect and self-evaluate. You just said pressure's only in the mind. Yeah, there isn't any pressure. It's only if you let there be pressure. Mm-hmm. The parents don't, if the bottom line is, if the parents are that adamant about their son or daughter taking a driving test, there is nothing you can do about it. You just let them go and take a driving test somewhere else.
Okay.
That's the bottom line. Don't be scared of losing a customer. Actually, stand by your principles. That's what's going to set you. Part of your unique selling point is standing by your principles and your ethics. and set your stall out. This is what we don't do enough. We don't set our stall out well enough before we start teaching. And, you know, our stall should be set out on our website as well. It should be there, terms and conditions, and paint the picture. Tell them what you're going to do. Have you written down what you do for your learners? Because before you do something, a good idea now is to contract. Draw up a verbal contract or draw up a written contract about what's the lessons going to be like and what the lessons are going to be about.
How many of you actually do have a contract? Because it will take this pressure off your shoulders a little bit, because they can see the T's and C's right at the very beginning. Whether you're in Facebook land watching this or, you know, on Zoom watching this, just put a Y if you have a contract and that person signs it, you know, accepts it. I feel that's important. And Graham, I just want to ask people as well, if you're enjoying this and you're learning from this, please, if you've got a question, chuck a question in, even if it slightly deviates from the subject. We don't mind, that's what we're here for. And please like, share and comment, because therefore we can get this information out to more ADIs, and I can promote the business summit in January a little bit more. But moving on, slightly moving on, you talk about contract, and you're talking about letting people go, if you need to let people go. And I think this probably relates quite nicely. Tell me about goals for driver education, in your opinion.
Okay, the goals for driver education. Actually, the thing about the goals for driver education, if you don't know about this, again, drop me the email. I'll send you some links. It is all on our resource section, actually, on www.tri-coachingpartnership.co.uk.
Like a good plug.
Yeah, you will find in our resource section loads of information about the GDE, the Goals for Driver Education. But I can run through it briefly.
Yeah, make it interesting.
Well, I'll do my best. Look, I'm going to talk about 4 levels. There is a level 5. I'm going to leave level 5 out of it for the moment.
Right.
But only because level 5 mainly is sort of dealing with the post-test driving, shall we say, company car drivers, culture, that sort of stuff. And I think level 4 all encompasses that in a way anyway. Look, traditionally, a driving test only covers level 1 and level 2 knowledge and skills and risk increasing factors. Now, level 1 is all about the vehicle, show me, tell me.
Right.
Level 2 is all about the road, dealing with traffic conditions. So if I'll give you an example, knowledge and skills, the vehicle. What do I need to know to operate the control smoothly?
So you've got your theory.
Yeah. Move away and stop, complete manoeuvres, deal with basic junctions, and then risk increasing factors. What do you think might happen if you didn't wear a seatbelt, David? Yeah. Or check your tyres.
I'll tell you what will happen if I don't wear my seatbelt. I get that annoying noise.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but you can always plug the other seat into it. Or you can always plug it in and sit on it. That's even more uncomfortable. Or you can always stick it underneath your arm and lose your arm at some stage. Yeah. And then you've got the road and traffic conditions. So what do I need to do to drive in traffic? Negotiate busy junctions, forward plan, read the road ahead, anticipate hazards, etc. And then the risk increasing factors are what the risks of driving at night or in adverse weather conditions, what could go wrong if I don't look properly or forward plan. That's what the driving test covers. Now, the column that is missing is self-evaluation. Level 1, the vehicle. How good I am at operating the controls. What weaknesses do I have? How well do I choose the correct gear or time my gear changes? Level 2, the road. How good am I at dealing with other traffic? What strengths and weaknesses do I have? Now, that's level 1 and level 2. Now, this is where the GDE starts to seep now into the driving test. Level 3, the journey.
Okay.
Because within that now, if you think about it, we're doing 20 minutes independent driving. Let's get them to plan the journey. Yeah. So level 3, the journey. What do I need to know about planning my journey?
Well, Graham, I've got to say, 20 minutes, it's a long time.
It's a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, that person has got to take responsibility in planning that. I get it.
But just listen to this. What mode of transport do I use? So what we're saying is, do you have to take the car? Could you get the train? Could you get the bus? Yeah.
Why would you ask that?
Why?
Yeah.
Because let's think about driving. We know that inexperienced drivers, 1 in 5 are likely to crash within the first 6 months of driving.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
20% of the drivers. Well, actually, if I thought about it, maybe I could have taken the bus and the train to the nightclub. Maybe I could then stay around my mate's house. Yeah. So getting them to think about alternatives. Yeah. Because that's what we do. We don't always choose to drive. Sometimes I get the bus. Sometimes I get the train. Sometimes I get a taxi. Yeah.
Because this is about driver education.
I walk.
All encompassing.
Yeah. So what risks are involved with drinking and driving, speeding, being distracted, using my mobile phone and driving when tired, driving with my mates. So these are risk increasing factors on a journey. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then self-evaluation. How good am I at navigating and route planning? How does tiredness affect my concentration? What strengths do I have in dealing with peer pressure? What are my weaknesses? So now the driving test is more covering knowledge and skills and risk increasing factors, the vehicle, the road and the journey. Our job as driving instructors is to encourage self-evaluation because that's not tested.
Taking responsibility.
Yeah, for their own learning and what they do. So that's our job to do that. And then you've got level 4. Level 4 is difficult because level 4 is about the person. And this is why we've moved away from behavioural teaching into a humanistic approach with coaching and client-centered learning. Because the person, who am I? You know, who am I? What sort of person am I? Yeah. What goals and ambitions do I have once I've passed my test? What skills do I already have? What views and opinions do I hold? Well, it's okay to break the speed limit a little bit. Everyone does it. Yeah. Yeah. What do I enjoy most about driving? Why do I want to learn to drive? Now, you know, the risk increasing factors. What type of personality do I have? Am I a thrill seeker? Am I aggressive? Yeah. So what are these risk increasing factors? Am I anxious? Am I nervous? Yeah. And what are the risks for me when I've passed my driving test?
So, Graham, what you're saying here is then, let me bring this back to the DVSA and change
Well, because self-evaluation in level 4, how well do I manage myself? Am I able to reflect? Do I understand consequences to actions? How will I cope with driving once I've passed my test? The GDE, the Goals for Driver Education, actually have formed the National Driver Rider Training Standards. That's where it's come from.
So when you look at the changes that are coming to the driving test, I kind of mentioned this before, but the more you talk, the more I feel this is true. And it'll be interesting to see what ADIs think of this and watching it on Facebook and Zoom. But this is not about the detail, about reversing, about the 20-minute independent, about pulling over on the right, reversing 2 car lengths. This is really about the framework of how you teach to allow or to create, what's the word I'm looking for, but making sure that pupil takes responsibility for what they do. Thinking about what they do and what they're trying to achieve. So your job really isn't to teach them how to pass the driving test. Okay, there's the technical side to it, but there's
got to do that.
But there's and you can teach them that very quickly. But it's getting them to
read the book, ladies. They don't need us to teach it, do they? They read Driving the Essential Skills in the Highway Code. They can learn it for themselves. They don't have us to pour that knowledge and skills in. They could work that out very much for themselves. What it is, fundamentally, driving is how we think and how we feel drives our behaviour behind the wheel. And if you think about this, look, when you're driving from one lesson to the next, do you think about other stuff when you're driving?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I think about, especially emotional things. You know, how I've just had a bad time or a great time. Either,
Yeah.
you know, if I've had just I don't know, a bad phone call at the bank, or I've had a dream, you know, so like, yeah, I can really do this. This could change, blah, blah, blah. I get in that car, and because I'm on the journey for an hour, do I want a boring journey? No. What am I going to do? I'm going to sit in there and I think about what I want to think about because I use that for a bit of me time. We'll do that.
So if you get excited while you're driving, I mean,
Yeah.
Nottingham Forest might score once in a blue moon.
We scored twice yesterday.
Scored twice. How, if you're listening to the radio when they score, what happens?
I dropped the radio.
What happens inside you when they score?
Oh, I feel elation, and I remember as a kid, you know, we'd be out on a Saturday. Mum and Dad would be doing their Saturday chores. I don't know, B&Q, Wicks, Asda.
David, you're supposed to be thinking about your driving, you naughty, naughty boy.
No, because Dad's listening to Radio Nottingham 103.2, and I'm in the back, and of course we had no seatbelts. And I'm leaning forward like that to try and listen to more. We have speakers in the front, and Dad's listening to it, and we're like this, and we score, and hands are in the air, and Dad's driving. Yeah. and he's not 3 foot, and his steering wheel's up here.
Yeah. And this is the thing. All it is just understanding that our thoughts, what we think, and how we feel affects everything we do, our behaviour. Absolutely.
It's about music as well.
Yeah, music changes how you feel. So this is what we're trying to do. Bottom line, is when we're teaching them to drive, we're trying to teach people to drive in a post-test environment, and then we'll be just back to that. And if you hold that mindset, what are they going to do post-test? You will teach people to drive safely, and they will be able to pass their test. Okay, David. I'm going to have to go and take some.
I was thinking we need to draw it to a close soon. It's a really important webinar, but it's one that doesn't need to take 2 hours. Let me just run through Facebook, see if I've got any points on here.
Excuse me.
And you know, there's a few questions here that might be slightly off topic, but that's okay. Steve Telford, he said it's okay, but the first question you get when somebody phones you is how many lessons will it take me to pass the test and not learn to drive? Steve, for me, don't say, when you're on the phone, right, you get them in the car. That is where you're going to educate them. You're not going to educate them on the phone, because while they're on the phone, they're thinking about their predetermined questions already, right? They're not interested in the encyclopedia according to Graham Hooper or, you know, Steve Telford. You know, they're interested in, all right, if they're asking about driving lessons, talk about passing the driving test, right? Because, you know, problem solution, get them thinking about passing the driving test, ask them about dates, when they want to pass it, blah, 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 ask them about the previous driving experience, build them in, book them in. Once you book them in and get them in the car, that is when you educate, that is when you properly educate them. That's my opinion. Graham?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, I just ask them why they want to know. Or how good are they now? I mean, I can only quote national averages at them. I think I'd just say, you know, national average between 40 and 50 hours. You may be brilliant. It might not take as long. We don't know yet, do we? Yeah. I'll tell you how you're going to find out. Come and have a driving lesson. Let's see how good you are.
Good point. Danny Gibson says, please ask Graham how he felt when Crystal Palace beat Chelsea last week. And I got a follow-up question to that. Mark McGee's a Palace fan. Did he email you as well?
What quite simple, Danny, is this. Palace beat us last season, and because of that, that spurred us on to win the league. And we are still champions. So that answers your question. I took it positive, mate. I took a big positive out of that. Palace beating us was just like deja vu from last season, mate.
Mike Simpson asks, where's this webinar going, please? Well, it's on Zoom, Mike, and if you've registered, you'll get an email copy. If you're just looking through Facebook, it's on my Facebook profile, and it's been shared to a couple of other Facebook profiles as well. I know I had that question before, but thank you very much, Mike, for asking it. And we'll see you at the summit as well. Not bought your ticket, Mike. Do it now. Mike and I have a love-hate relationship. He's great. Kate Featherly keeps him in place. Joanne Davis goes back to a question, something that we mentioned earlier. Good evening, Joanne. Thanks very much for finding the time to get in touch with us. She says that she doesn't currently have written terms and conditions. Do you think it's important for me to do this as opposed to verbal terms and conditions? Graham?
Your choice. My world is simple. We have choices. Will it enhance your business? Will it protect you? What will it do for you if you do these terms and conditions? If they're needed, do them. If you don't think they're needed, don't bother. But, it's about contracting. What can you put in there? If you're having problems with your pupils about cancellations, or you're having problems with parents, then do them. If you have no problems with cancellations and parents, then I wouldn't bother.
Thank you. Alex, I'm not going to mention your surname because I don't want to make an idiot of myself of mispronouncing it.
Do that, David. I know Alex very well.
Okay. He says, one thing that's never been said in all training events that I've been to, none have said anything about the records and ADI I should keep. I'm currently having a serious problem with the DVSA about record keeping. So
why are you having a problem? Alex, keep your own records, mate.
What records do you keep and why, Graham?
The records that I keep, David, are I have a series of forms, Part 3 assessment forms. You see, look, I'm a little bit different. I mean, seriously, it's a little bit different because my records are kept in a customer relations management tool called Infusionsoft.
Yeah.
We keep all those, every client's records in there. It's password protected. We're signed up to the Data Protection Act.
I want to say to any ADI, if you want Infusionsoft, it's like $400 a month. It's
for us, we need to keep records safely and securely, be able to find out information about our clients quickly and easily. So that's how we keep records. And then what we do is if we're doing training with them in, say, like PDI training, after every training session, we fill out a form. The PDI gets emailed the form. We get emailed the form as a record, and it goes into their notes, and we can track it.
And there are apps out there. I can't think of his name.
Neil Beaver, he does.
Yeah, Neil Beaver, and I think Pete Robinson and Dave do something where you've got something off for the L test where you finish a section on your lesson and then the email is sent out. I kind of like that idea, especially when you're trying to bring responsibility and you're trying to get the parent involved as well.
I'm going to, in answer to Alex's question, Alex, it's up to you to keep records. It's not up to the DVSA to keep records. If I've understood the question, you design your own record keeping. That's what you need.
Oh, Emma Johnson, My Drive Time.
Yeah, and the records, go to the syllabus, which is written by the DVSA. Go to the driving syllabus for Cat B and formulate your records, your record keeping from there. That's what I would do.
Thank you. Gavin Brownlee. Cheeky so-and-so.
Gav.
Gavin says he'd like a CPD certificate.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you can kiss my...
But he did, Gavin does say that in Scotland there's a booklet. You were talking about the booklets earlier on. Yeah. He says that there's a booklet in Scotland. Your teenager is learning to drive. Gavin, I've not seen that. I don't know if it's available in England and Wales.
The Scottish do far better than us.
Gavin, would you be so kind if you can try and track down a PDF version of that so we can share it? That'd be great. What else have we got on here? Crash Map, CRASHMAP. One new message coming at the bottom. Claire Hamilton, please ask this, capital letters. What are next week's lottery numbers? No. How on earth do those... Oh, Claire, I need to be careful, right?
We can't mention names of other companies.
We're not going to mention names of other franchises. Let me read it. There are driving schools out there that offer 5 lessons for 25 quid. And they're making it really difficult for us independent ADIs to compete. I say this to you, Claire, don't compete on price.
I tell you what,
hold on, Graham.
Compete on price. David, I'm just going to put my oar in here. Okay.
Yeah,
compete on price. Be the most expensive in your area. That's your USP. Yeah. And then people ask, why are you the most expensive in the area? And then you can tell them why. Yeah. And that's exactly how to do it. Yeah. You don't have to compete with them. Yeah. Build a great reputation. Build great training. People will bang your doors down. People used to beg me to teach them to drive. I go, sorry, I can't fit you in. Yeah.
I see it like this. Now, I know where that franchise is roughly based, so I'm going to assume that you're in the northeast. So I'm going to say this to you. You're on a night out, Claire. You're single. You're 21, you're 22 years old, and it's a Friday and Saturday night, and you're out with your girlfriends, and you're on the pull. Do you wear cheap, shitty perfume and stink of cat piss, or do you wear Chanel? And for me, that's the difference. Because, and Graham's laughing here, but it's absolutely true. And you can put, you're on the phone to somebody, a learner driver's talking to you. Create an analogy. I used a few little expletives there and what have you not, but create an analogy so people can understand it. This relates back to like driving lesson prices earlier on. The first thing they do is ask, it's £5 an hour cheaper down the road. Create an analogy. You go out on a Saturday night. What are you going to wear? Are you going to wear, I don't know, Chanel or whatever? Or are you going to wear Superdrug's best brand? And that's the difference. And when you create an analogy and shift it into a context that they understand, it doesn't become a problem. Don't worry about driving schools doing 5 for 25 or 5 for 50 and stuff like that. There will always be a market for it. You don't need to compete on price. And if you do it the way Graham just said. Claire says, how do they do it though? I thought it must be because they are a trainee license. I don't know whether they're PDIs or not. Claire, it's like this for me. They become a driving examiner through passing part 1, 2, and 3. And within that, the recruitment process is not great, in my opinion. Then you're not taught business processes, and there's lots of ADIs out there who want to be busy. And if you look at, I can't think of his name, Graham's going to tell me. Graham, who's the chap that used to be on Dragon's Den? He bought Millwall for a while. He always talks about busy fools, pathetis.
Yes.
He said, you're busy, but don't be a busy fool. There are a lot of people out there who do work 40 or 50 hours a week and earning really, really bad money. It's not about how busy you are, you start with profit.
Write down how much do you want to earn, how much time do you want to spend working, and then work it out from there.
There you go. Claire says, thanks. Alex says, quick question to everyone. Do you record the exact time a driving lesson starts, or do you just use memory? Are you talking about your diary?
Well, my diary, I can tell you exactly. My diary's electronic, Alex. I can tell you exactly what I'm doing and when it started. Every single lesson is recorded. It's my records, because when I do my bookkeeping, I need to know who I trained, how long I trained them for, how much I charged them. I keep records.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a difficult webinar tonight. And the reason why I say it's been a difficult webinar tonight is because we're not really, or Graham's not really imparting new information. This was about how you can adapt to the new driving test. And many of you have already adapted to it or are aware of the framework. What I'd like to say to you is this: don't be scared of it. Keep asking questions, keep talking to people, but look about post-license and look about whoever you train, it doesn't have to be driver training, but whoever you're training, whoever you're coaching, it's about passing responsibility onto them so they take personal accountability. Don't worry for that. Anonymous attendee, there's a couple of points coming actually, Graham. I was going to wrap up and finish.
Go on.
Danny Gibson says, "Hi David, you can tell Claire, myself and one other coach in Cumbria are charging £32 an hour and both of us are fully booked." Yeah, the other one's Kevin Graham. Evening, Kevin. Yeah, well done, Danny. I didn't know, up to 32. Nice one, mate. An anonymous attendee says, "Should we be teaching sat navs without having to look at the screen?" You've got to look at the screen at some point, but are you talking about being glued to the screen or following directions from the screen?
What do you do when you follow a sat nav? Would be my
me, or are you asking anonymous attendee?
Well, I don't know. I'm asking the anonymous. I mean, when I follow a sat nav, I mean, I have a glance at it. No different to having a glance in my mirrors. I have a glance at it. I process the information. I look at the road. I take in the information. I have a glance. I mean, I don't look at the sat nav that often because, generally speaking, you only need it when you get close to your destination.
Look, I'll tell you what, you do that, right? And this is the straw poll of one. But this is me and my dad. And this is like 4 years ago. And if anybody knows it, you know the big roundabout on the M1, I think it's 23A when you go off to East Midlands Airport?
Yeah.
So we're up north and we're going southbound onto the M23A. And Dad's going around the roundabout. And what's he doing? Is he looking at the signposts? Is he looking at the lanes on the floor? Or is he looking at the sat nav? And then why is everybody beeping him? Because he was just glued to his sat nav.
Yeah. And that's what we've got to help them. You know, that's why we've got to help people use sat navs. And I think a lot of driving instructors don't like using them. And I can understand that. But, you know, it's a changing world. We don't like change. No one likes change because it means that we have to do something different. But the thing is about doing something different, you know, when you do something different, you learn something. And that's the great thing about doing different things. Yeah. You know, Jim. I know Jim Robinson. Hello, mate.
Yeah, charging 25 an hour when other people are doing 25 for 5. Nice one, Jim. Look, I'm going to give a few shout outs before we go because there's a few on here, there's a few on Facebook. So please, if you hear your name, you have to share this video, okay? And the reason why you have to share it is because we're promoting the Driving Instructors Business Summit, which has been completely supported by AD Indy, which is Tina and Kelly. They're paying for this tonight because at the Driving Instructors Business Summit, we are raising money for Speed of Sight, a blind driving school, because Tina and Kelly at AD Indy are funding this. We don't have to take the money out of the summit, so all the trade stands and all the tickets sales that have been sold go straight to Speed of Sight, and it's not one big fat check on January 28th. They're getting that money now, so they can put it into good use, helping disabled people have that wonderful experience of driving. So when you hear your name, please either like, comment, or share. So I'm going to go through here on a few on Facebook, and I think Graham just looked onto his personal Facebook one as well.
Yes.
Trevor Pryor, James Booth, Steve Pearce, Eve Wheeler, Sean Bowen, Paul Jacobs, Ruth McLeod. I'm not going to go through everybody. Jane Christie, Evening Paula Carter, Cliff Kelly, Stephen Callahan. There's a lot of you. And I just want to say this before we close. Thank you so much for being here tonight. You're here in your downtime when you can be spending time, you know, with your loved ones, watching, you know, Doctor Who on or Poldark or some whatever, but you're not. You've taken the time to actually invest in yourself and in your clients, and I really appreciate that. And I'd also like to say a massive thank you for Graham Hooper because he ain't too well, and here he is.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers. Good night.
If anybody's got any questions, please do fire them through to Graham Hooper. So that's GRAHAN, Hooper ADI at hotmail.com. So Graham Hooper ADI at hotmail.com. Or you can spam the life out of him on his Facebook.
Yeah. Also, tell Gavin Brownlee that his CPD certificate's in the post.
Yeah, Gavin, I'm going to put a French stamp on it. They're on strike at the moment, so.
Okay.
I was going to say, Gavin, Graham, please have the. I'll let you have the final word.
Okay, well, hey, this is the way I usually say it. If you want to see more of me, my Facebook Live's Wednesday, 8 o'clock usually. And I usually sign off and say, look, to the boys, I love you. But to the girls, I love you more. Take care, everyone.
What a player.
What a play. What a loader. Yeah. Okay.
Good night, everyone. Thanks very much.
Au revoir. Okay,
Bye-bye.
how do I get out of here, Dave? Do I now leave the meeting?
No, I'm doing it for you.